Athletes, how long has it been since you posted something that actually feels like you? Not a repost, not a story that someone else tagged you in. Something you made on purpose that actually says something about who you are. You had to think about it for more than 5 seconds, and that's the problem that we're solving today. Hey, I'm Angelica, and we are in the second round of Bracket Your Brand. And this episode is all about content, not just what to post, but how to build a system that actually works for an athlete who has practice, class, games, a life. Let's get into it. I want to be real with you for a second. When I talk to athletes about content, I get one of two reactions. They either say, I don't know what to post, or they say, I don't have time to post. And I understand both of these things, but here's something you need to know. Content is not optional if you are serious about NIL. Here's why. A brand can find your profile in 30 seconds. If there is nothing there, no post, no consistency, no signs of life, they are moving on. Your content is your proof of concept. It shows brands that you can create. It shows them that you have an audience that is engaged and that you can represent a product in a way that feels real. And without content, you don't have a brand. You have a social media account. And here's something I tell every athlete that I work with. You don't have to be a content creator to create great content. You just have to be intentional. There's a big difference between those two things. A content creator makes content their whole life. It's their job. An athlete makes content with purpose. That's what we're building today. Parents, this is the section where a lot of families get real nervous. They hear content and they think their child is going to be on their phone all day instead of focusing on school and sports. I want to reframe that for you. We're building a system, not an obsession. I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. I have 4 types of content that help athletes build their brand with intention. We're going to call them content pillars. Just think of them as buckets your content will be categorized by. Your first pillar is the most obvious one. Sports content, highlights, practice clips, pre-game ritual, post-game reflections. This is the kind of content that reminds people of why they're following you and establishes your credibility as an athlete. But here's the thing, sports content alone is not enough. Brands don't want to just work with athletes. They want to work with people. So while this pillar is important, it's just one of 4. If every single post is a highlight or a workout clip, you're leaving a huge part of your brand off the table. Athlete, think of one piece of sports content that you can capture this week without very little effort. A drill you're working on, pre-game ritual, a clip from practice that your teammate can film in 30 seconds. Literally something that you can do where you can prop up your phone in the corner and just record. That's your starting point. The second pillar is personality and lifestyle content. This is a pillar that most athletes underestimate, but is often the one that performs the best. Personality and lifestyle content is everything that shows who you are when you're not competing. What you're watching, what you like to cook, what do you do to wind down? What are you watching on TV this week? What makes you laugh? What your dorm room or apartment looks like? That kind of content. This is the content that actually builds real connection with your audience. People follow athletes because of the sport, but they stay because of the person. This is the content that brands pay attention to the most because it will show how you naturally integrate their product or service into your real life. I've worked with an athlete once who was real quiet and reserved in her sports content. Very focused, very serious. But her personality content was funny, warm, completely magnetic. That contrast is what made her interesting. Don't be afraid to let people see the real picture of who you are. Athlete, what is one thing about your everyday life that people who only know you as an athlete would be really surprised about? That surprise factor is content gold. If you need an idea, start there. Parents, you know your child better than anyone. If they're struggling to figure out what kind of lifestyle content to create, have a conversation with them. Help them identify what is naturally interesting about them outside of their sport. Pillar 3 is community and values content. This pillar is about what you stand for. Community services, causes that you care about, your school, your hometown, your family, your faith, whatever is genuinely important to you. This content builds depth. It takes you from a person people watch to a person people root for. And for my HBCU athletes in particular, and I say this from my own experience running Rise HBCU, community angle is extremely powerful. The story of an HBCU athlete, the culture, the legacy, the pride, that's a narrative that resonates far beyond sports. Brands are actively looking for athletes who can carry that story authentically. Don't underestimate it. And please make no mistake, this does not mean that you need to be an activist or build your whole brand around a cause. It means you share things that matter to you when they matter to you in a way that's real. Authenticity is a word that gets overused in this space, but it exists for a reason. People can feel when something's genuine. So can brands. Athletes, what cause, community, or value would you want your name associated with, even if there was no real NIL benefit? That's your community pillar. Post about it genuinely and like you mean it. And our last pillar, our fourth pillar, is educational content. This is the pillar where most athletes never think about, and one of the most underutilized opportunity in the NIL space. Educational content, sharing what you know. You're an expert in something. You've trained for years in your sport. You know things about conditioning, about mental preparation, about navigating athletes that most people would know nothing about. Share that, break it down, teach people something. And it doesn't have to be sports specific. If you're pre-med, talk about what it's like being a student athlete. If you're a business major, share what you're learning. If you're passionate about mental health, talk about how you're managing the pressure of competing. Educational content positions you as more than an athlete. It positions you as someone with something to say. And that's exactly who brands want to partner with. Athletes, finish this sentence. Most people don't know that student athletes have to. Your answer is the content. Film it, post it, please. The behind the scenes reality of your life is actually more interesting than you may think. Parents, encourage your athlete to share their academic journey along with their athletic one. A student athlete who can talk about both is twice as interesting to brand, twice as interesting to the audience they're trying to build. Okay, so now you have the 4 content pillars. So the question is, how do you use them without burning out or falling off after 2 weeks? Because I've seen that more times than I can count. An athlete, they get motivated, they post every day for a week, then they disappear for 2 months. That inconsistency can be worse than never starting at all. And I'm saying that as someone who has struggled with that herself. Here's a system that I teach in my NIL Academy. Start with 3 posts a week. Just 3. 1 sports post, 1 personality or community post, 1 education or values post. 3 pillars, 3 posts every week. That's it. In season, 3 posts a week is actually doable. Out of season, you can push to 4 or 5 posts if you have the capacity. But the goal is consistency over volume. And the goal is substance over fluff. A brand looking at your profile wants to see that you can show up regularly. Not that you had a great week 6 months ago and then nothing. One other thing I want you to think about is batching. Pick one day of the week to record your content. Pick a day of the week, a Sunday, a rest day, whatever the week, to actually create your content in one session. Fill 3 things, edit them, write your captions, and schedule them out. You're done. That's how you can stay consistent without it taking over your life. I used to batch my content on Mondays. And once I got into the groove, it actually would take me about 15 minutes to record 3 or 4 videos, especially if something was going on or I had something that I wanted to share with my audience. So athletes, this is your homework for this week. Pick your 3 posting days, assign a pillar to each day, and batch your first week of content in 1 sitting. It may feel like a lot at first. By week 3, you'll feel more natural doing it. Parents, offer to help with batching. Not to run the account, but to help with logistics, filming, scheduling, reminding, soft reminding. One more thing before we finish. And this is something almost every athlete skips. Engagement. Posting is only half the job. The other half is showing up in the comments, engaging with your audience, tagging brands when it's relevant to your post, but also engaging with content in your space. Brands don't just look at what you post, they look at how your community responds to you and how you respond to your community. An athlete who has 5,000 engaged followers, who actually engages with their audience, is more valuable to most brands than an athlete with 50,000 followers that never responds to a single comment. Spend 10 minutes a day engaging. That's it. It doesn't have to take over your life. And you can do that because I'm sure you spend much more time mindlessly scrolling every single day. At least use some of that time to engage with your audience. And make sure you leave thoughtful comments on posts from brands that you want to work with. Show up. That's how you build an audience that actually cares, and that's what NIL is built on. Woo! That is the second round of Bracket Your Brand. 4 content pillars, a 3 post a week system, and 10 minutes of engagement a day. That's your content game plan. I put together a 30-day content calendar template. It's available in the description box. It's pre-built around the 4 pillars with space for you to plan out your posts for the entire month. Download it, fill it in, and come back for episode 4. Because next round, we're getting into something really specific to you. Narrowing down the best NIL opportunities. Not a general list, your opportunities. So I'll see you next time. And don't forget to share this episode with an athlete or a parent who you really think needs to see this and needs a content system that actually fits their life. If you're ready to stop guessing and build a real strategy, I do offer one-on-one strategy sessions. You can find the link in the bio to book a session. And until then, I'll see y'all next time.